This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we are your hosts. I'm Alexis.
I'm Grace.
And things seem different today, perhaps, or they will seem different, as you all will soon find out, because we're going to do something a little different. What are we going to do today, Grace? Well, I guess I'll go ahead and say it. I'll just tell them. I know all this suspense is building up for nothing. So typically, if you guys have been sticking with us throughout not just Halloween or the month of October, but throughout the whole 30, however many episodes we've done so far, you've seen us go back and forth. Grace will go 1 week and tell a story from a classic animated show. I will then the next week go and tell a story from a classic animated show. Now, last week, if you watched or listened, you probably heard and saw it was Grace's turn to tell the story. But for those Grace fans out there, guess what? You get another week of Grace telling a story. She's going to go 2 weeks in a row because in the theming, our Halloween theming for the month of October, we realized that there are actually 5 Saturdays in October.
Yeah.
And so
we thought there were 4.
We thought there were 4. Don't like all months only have 4 weekends.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't know what's going on.
We didn't really look into it.
We didn't. We figured it out like after filming the first or second episode. We're like, oh yeah, by the way.
Whoops.
So anyway, to fix this issue though, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add one more episode to our Halloween repertoire, if you will. And Grace is gonna go 2 weeks in a row because next week for the 5th episode, I will actually be telling the story of something that happened on the day that episode will be airing, like 70 years, 80 years before, more. Oh my God, 90 years. Anyway, I'm not good at math. Come back next week to do the real math with us and find out when it actually did happen. But that is all just to say that Grace is up with another story, Halloween themed story from a classic animated show today. And I will now hand it off to you.
Thank you.
Indeed.
So I'm so excited for this episode. I would say that every week, but like whatever. I'm always excited. So I'm excited because it's kind of like an amalgamation of various things that we've talked about. Not just in our Halloween series, like spooky things, but other things we've discussed in the past. Because we haven't actually done like a full arc of this show, like we usually do with our episodes of like an arc of Darkwing Duck, an arc of Rescue Rangers. This is a show we haven't talked about in arc form yet, but we have talked about this series on this show.
Okay.
So today I'm going to tell you about an episode called Abracadaver, which is season 1, episode 5, part B of a show that requires a little bit of sugar, spice, and everything nice.
Oh,
That's right.
Yes.
We're doing an episode of Powerpuff Girls today.
Oh my God, I cannot wait. Yes. Ooh, awesome. I was trying to guess. I was like, what other children's shows have we talked about? At least cool. Awesome. Yay, yes. I'm excited.
So if you haven't watched our bonus Toon Tangents, go watch them after this episode. But we've talked about in the past the attempted like reboot of the classic animated cartoon Powerpuff Girls, that by the sounds of it, the like live action reboot would have been trash. So we were happy that it never happened.
Yeah, it may still be in the works, by the way, though. I don't know. No one really knows. They say it
no one knows.
Yeah.
But real quick, because we haven't done an arc of this show, I'm going to give our listeners and viewers a quick-ish overview of the Powerpuff Girls. So real fast, this is a crime-fighting superhero show that follows 3 kindergartners who happen to be made in a lab superheroes. These lab-made triplets are Blossom, who is the confident leader, Buttercup, who is the headstrong tomboy, and Bubbles, who is the sweet, compassionate one. The show is often a parody of kind of like standard superhero, and I think I'm going to probably say this wrong, but I'm going to say like a lot of words in this show wrong, so buckle up for later. Click, click. But yeah, it's often a parody of standard like superhero and tokusatsu shows, which are kind of like Japanese. That's where like Godzilla, like Kenji, like Godzilla comes from, like that type of Japanese themed show. And other pieces of pop culture pop up in this show. So it takes place in Townsville, USA, which is a large idealistic city that has come to depend on these small children for their protection from crazed criminals, mad scientists, monsters, and just general villains of all kinds. Oddly, the show is a mixture of like humor, creepiness, adorableness, and like a lot of violence. And all in one. And it's one of my favorite shows as a child. I don't know if we talked about this on our Toon Tangent, but I distinctly remember that I had 3 like stuffed toys at the Powerpuff Girls, and I would make my older brother Grant be like Mojo Jojo or other villains so I could attack him like with the Powerpuff Girls. Because they were
knock his teeth out.
Yeah, it's like hit him with them
the way they would.
Also, this show won multiple Emmys when it was on air in the 2000s, which well deserved, I think.
I think so too.
So, though I just briefly described the show and the stars of the show, our focus for the first bit of this show is actually not going to be on the Powerpuff Girls. Since actually for the most part of this episode, the girls are actually at home. I think it's building up to Halloween. So they're at home watching scary movies, specifically watching scary zombie movies and like freaking themselves out and jumping at every little noise in the house. So while they're off doing that, we're going to instead focus on our spooky criminal today with a smidge of reality of what actually happened to this criminal that got him to this point of evilness that we actually see through flashbacks, and of course a smidge of wild speculation.
Yay, our favorite thing.
So this fella is a man named Al Lusion, and he's a magician, or eventually becomes a magician later in life, because that's why his name is Al Lusion. Illusion. Yeah, that's how they got to it. Yeah. Classic. There's a lot of puns. Yeah, but we're just gonna call him Al. It's easier than trying to like distinctly say that pun every time.
I was thinking he was going to be like a luge competitor. Joking.
You're like, what does luge have to do with Halloween?
Yes, I'm interested to see where the story goes.
You're like, is that for a December arc, not Halloween arc?
Not Halloween. But hey, I mean, I guess you could dress up as a luge, whatever, rider, player.
A lugeus?
Luger?
Hey, luger. Yeah, you're luger. And then they speed up because they speed up. So first, some speculation. And I speculate that Al grew up in Townsville, but not necessarily, in the bustling city center, and not in the suburbs, the quiet suburbs that the Powerpuff Girls live in, but rather, I think Al kind of grew up in all parts of the city, not in like a fun way, but in a way that he was constantly changing homes, being shuffled around between family members, friends of the families, probably even occasionally foster homes. I think his childhood and most of his life was extremely unstable, and we don't know exactly why. That seemed a little too dark to get into what was going on with his family. But I surmise that he was often treated as nothing more than another mouth to feed, a burden to adults that was easily abused and pushed aside. And throughout his childhood, he saw that all the other kids had things that he wanted and desired, from toys and teddy bears to clean clothes and PB&Js with the lunches, that the crust was cut off lovingly by loving parents. And he longed for these things, but even when he asked other kids to share these simple riches, they would jeer at him, they would laugh at him, or even sometimes ignore him as if he was invisible, just like the adults treated him. And I think for, a short period, this constant rejection reared its head in young Al as anger, as many children would react. They would react angrily because they don't know how to process these complicated emotions of rejection. But soon, I think Al actually shoved that anger away, bottled it up, and instead found his saving grace, the thing that he could channel his desire to be accepted into, the thing that would get him attention and praise and eventually even money to better his situation. Stage magic.
Cue like crazy synthesizer music and like flashing lights. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
What? Oh, no.
So now I originally wrote here, from that day on, young Al began turning tricks. But then I realized that's a very different type of street corner work, but magic nonetheless, ladies and gents. So then I backspaced that, and then I was like, no, I need to admit
say it anyway.
What I originally wrote there.
That was great. I'm glad you still said that.
You're like, was he child trafficked? What do you mean, Grace?
Maybe
That's why he was shuffled around. We simply don't know.
I mean, it sounds like it. And let's be real. Would that be the craziest bit of wild speculation we've done on this show?
Not at all. Not even close.
Yeah.
So young Al practiced his magic tricks in the classroom until he was sent to the principal's office, on street corners to adoring crowds until the street lamps dimmed, and eventually on the stage, where he adopted the very creative name, the Great Al Lucian.
Oh boy.
The greatest magician Townsville had ever seen, according to the mayor of Townsville. Which
pretty high praise.
Yes, exactly. And we'll step out here from wild speculation to go to the point of view of the mayor of Townsville, who does indeed, as sparked by seeing a poster of the Great Illusion kind of like crumbling on the outside of a theater that, the mayor is reminiscing on as he's about to demolish the theater. But that aside, demolishing historic buildings aside. Yes.
We need new high rises.
Yeah, exactly.
More mixed-use development.
Full of them. Yeah. And so specifically, the mayor is reminiscing specifically on the fateful night that ended Al's magic career, because the mayor was actually there as yet but a wee child watching this magic show on that very fateful night. So we go into flashback mode where everything is black and white and like grainy film, because this is like back in the 20s essentially. Gotcha. So the show was going off without a hitch. The crowd was loving him. Al, was doing all of the classic magic tricks. He was sawing an assistant in half. He was pulling a rabbit out of a hat. He was levitating. He was performing what's called...
Whoa.
I know. I had to Google this. Predicament escapes, which is like where like the magician gets like in a hairy situation, but escapes just in the nick of time before they die. And as he always did during the show, he calls a volunteer on stage. But of course, because it's on stage, I don't know if folks listening have been on stage before, but stage lights are blinding. And so he kind of just blindly points to a volunteer, a willing audience member, never really knowing what or who he's going to get, which I would say actually speaks more to Al's great skill as a magician, that it wasn't a planted volunteer. It was an actual, just average Townsvillian excited to be there. But on this fateful night, the individual he chose was a very small girl with a round face and big eyes. And she straightened her dress out, adjusted her hat, and came up on the stage, hugging her teddy bear to calm her from her nerves. And seeing that this young girl who had a teddy bear, Al hesitates just for a moment, as if reminiscing or, trauma flashbacking just for a moment on how he once was a child longing for that comfort that she currently had. But ever the professional and now an adult, he quickly recovers and kindly asks her for the teddy bear, which she does turn over to him. And a single clap, the bear vanishes into a poof of dust. Oh, and the audience goes wild. Yes, he bows, but the small girl starts crying because her comfort teddy bear just disappeared in front of her eyes. She starts bawling. No one can hear her cries above the clapping audience, the roaring audience. And when the bear isn't brought back, the little girl, very understandably, goes a little bit into a temper tantrum and kind of like runs towards Al. But she kind of like trips on, I don't know, like a magic wand or something. And she tries to catch herself as she falls. She's able to grab onto Al, luckily. She doesn't like hurt herself. But as she falls onto Al, she grabs his pants and pantses him on stage.
No. And ladies and gentlemen, we now have a villain. This man's life has been ruined.
And ladies and gentlemen, not only is this incredibly embarrassing.
Yeah.
And, the audience immediately starts to laugh because I too would start to giggle at that sight. But even worse, all of the tricks of this magician start pouring out of his pockets, hidden in his pants.
Oh my God.
So rabbits start hopping out of the pants and doves soar into the theater. Cards pour out. Handkerchiefs tumble out. Keys from the predicament experience clank out onto the stage. The audience loses their minds, as does the little girl who starts to laugh in his face on stage, as he is now revealed to be a fraud, not a true magician.
Imagine just having a bunch of, go ahead.
Nope, I was saying as bunnies hop around his feet. Go for
it. Okay, I was going to say, imagine having like bunnies and doves like just shoved in your pants.
At all times.
At all times. Your pants just have like these bulges like popping all over the place. No one questions it. It's like, nice to meet you, Al. Looking good today.
What's up, Al? Is that a dove or are you just happy to see me? Oh, wow.
His legs are just like shaking from the doves trying to like fly away. He's like, I'm good.
Also, side note, have you ever seen The Prestige?
Yes, with you, actually, I think.
On the bus of rowing.
Yes, for rowing, but that was the only time. And so I don't really remember it, which I hear it's super freaking good, though. I need to rewatch it. Yeah.
Fucking incredible. Yes. For those who didn't understand, obviously, our inside reference there. One time, I don't know who convinced a whole bus of high school kids. I honestly
think it was your mom, Grace. I'm pretty sure your mom did.
How do I get these kids to shut the fuck up? I'm going to put a mind-bending film on. And so
Grant together. Probably it was all your family. I'm almost positive.
Probably. Yeah. But we put again, a bus of 60 kids, high schoolers, they put on The Prestige and we were all like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Because the movie is that good. Anyways, part of that movie, I just thought of this is not in the script at all, but I thought of part of that movie when the magicians are learning all of their tricks. It's you see the reality of it, which includes accidentally killing a bunch of doves when the tricks go wrong. And so Al's just full of dead doves that I also imagine are flopping out of his pants like dead animals do.
Falling out of his ankles or the ankle
onto the little girl.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
So now it's littered in dead animals too on stage, which Townsville thinks is hilarious too. Morbidly.
Whichever way. Yeah.
Anyways, this obviously, as is often a theme, I think a lot of episodes that I do for some reason, launches our villains back into trauma that they addressed traumas. So, we see Al as the audience laughs at him. Yet again, children laughing at him, adults rejecting him. He starts stumbling back on the stage, wanting to flee. But of course, his pants are still at his ankles. So he is tripling, and tragically, and that's kind of a loud reminder that I forgot about this show, that like Powerpuff Girls is low-key like pretty violent and like graphic of a children's show. Because we see Al fall back and like trip over his own like running away from trauma into one of his predicament traps. Only now his keys are gone, which, some of these traps are, like a tank of water, which he could have just swam out of and that type of stuff. But just as quickly as the laughter started, it's replaced with screams from the audience as the trap he falls into is an Iron Maiden.
Oh no.
Which immediately closes on him and kills him on stage. Like,
and that's the end of today's episode.
So just as quickly as the villain was born, he like gets murdered in front of an audience.
An audience of people who were already like jeering at him too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
and
my
like
gosh.
Children.
Yeah. Oh God. His ghost is gonna be traumatized.
Yep. And so quickly the mayor, we launch back into modern day. The mayor just shakes it, that horrible, tragic, like generational trauma memory away. Question.
And so that happened at the theater that they're demolishing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And that actually is a very important note, specifically, that's the theater they're demolishing at. Because one, the mayor just goes, that was a crazy time. Anyways, green light, go ahead and demolish it, crew. So the wrecking balls start flying into the building. But apparently not a single person, they just like all like booked it from the theater when that tragic event happened. And since magic was only a band-aid to Al's loneliness and not a solution, I speculate that Al still didn't really have like a community or people, personally that loved him or he loved. He was still lonely even in his death. So no one came to collect Al after he died. And even more so, kind of fucked up, Lee, no one came to get the Iron Maiden that crushed and stabbed him to death, that still sat on the bloody stage, now covered in dust and rubble, as the building came down all around this Iron Maiden filled with a dead magician's body.
What?
So we see now a wrecking ball and rubble hit the Iron Maiden and crack the lid of it open. A lid that hasn't been opened in decades, which I have to imagine smells real fucking bad.
Really
at
bad.
This point.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I guess I should pause for a second. For those who don't know, Iron Maiden, I think we've actually weirdly run into this before in like a Rescue Rangers Tower of London episode.
All shows, yeah.
I talked about it.
It was little chipmunks that had to deal with one.
Yes, but for those who don't know, it's the one that's like two doors filled with spikes that then slam or like slowly crush on someone, and the spikes pierce them to death and they die really horribly. Anyways.
So wait a minute. So that was like the last show at this theater or something? Yep. Like
the town was just like, we're not going to talk about that. Yeah. We're not going to let anyone go into that theater. We're just going to lock that door. Yeah.
And goodbye.
It never happened. They never spoke about it again. And the whole time, the Iron Maiden filled with a dead body just sat there. And again, because he had no family to speak of, no one who loved him, his body was just left to rot in this horrible death. And I guess, I don't know, this like seemed like the 20s based on like how it was animated, that like I don't know. I guess the coroner's office was like, I mean, pretty shut and closed.
Get it? Like the Iron Maiden. Yeah.
Nice.
They like go in, they look at the Iron Maiden, like, yep, it's closed. He's dead. Let's go.
Anyways, was that little girl culpable? She's so cute with her big old eyes and her teddy bear that she never got back. That's the real crime here.
We could never blame her. Yeah, right. The teddy bear's missing. They put like missing signs up for that with like massive rewards, like $50,000 for the first person to find this teddy bear.
Exactly.
Like somewhere in the astral plane or some other dimension.
Al, never heard of them. Missing person? Nah.
Teddy bear? $50,000.
Find them. So again, as the rebel and a wrecking ball hits this Iron Maiden, cracks it open, we see now a single green rotting hand shoot out from it. And in a poof, it's suddenly holding a disintegrating bouquet of black flowers, which are just gone just as quickly. And from the Iron Maiden low-key turned coffin, we see Al rise, his magician's tuxedo torn and ripped, his skin falling off, revealing bones underneath, his eyes red, and most disturbingly, his fingernails present, but short and torn, likely from decades of trying to scratch his way out of his Iron Maiden coffin, which, side note, is low-key a real thing when people got like buried alive. Like they would like find their like nails were shortened because they'd like try and claw their way out, and it's real fucked up. Anyway, that can be a horrible crime for
one day.
Being buried alive.
Added to the list, yeah.
Anyways, that's right. We've got a zombie on our hands.
Oh gosh, a magic zombie.
Yes, a magic zombie. A classic Halloween trope.
Yeah.
And as we've been doing with all of our Halloween episodes, we're going to pause here and talk about the history of this Halloween trope. And notably, like, where the heck does an idea of a zombie come from? So, of course, I headed to the one and only Wikipedia.
Yeah. Our favorite.
To find out. And history.com. And so while there are some sources that do note that like maybe the ancient Greeks had like a fear of the undead, as noted by some like ancient graves that were like weighed down by like rocks and stuff, deep zombie folklore really most likely came from Haiti, actually, where it's been for centuries. And, you know, it could be like there's some connection likelihood that this folklore about zombies may have actually come to Haiti via West African slaves, particularly because there are ties to some part of the, I think it's pronounced Kikongo, which is the Congo language, and several Congo deities. And notably, there are traces that the very concept of zombies was also kind of like a metaphor and a connection to slavery itself, which we'll get into momentarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So first, I'm going to talk about the Haitian idea of zombies, as this is more directly what, white Americans ripped off of once they caught wind of it during the U.S. invasion / occupation of Haiti from 1915 to 1934. And Americans were like, this sounds great. We're going to steal it and make it this other thing. Yeah. Anyways, like most things we briefly talk about, the belief system I'm going to hint on here is like way more complicated than a Wikipedia paragraph.
Yeah.
But all I know is the Wikipedia paragraph, because as a reminder, we are what? Not experts on anything.
Not experts. We are a half-research podcast.
Exactly. So with that in mind, there is rural Haitian folklore that references kind of like two types of zombie-esque entities. Mm-hmm. So in one, zombies are dead persons who are revived by what's called, and most likely mispronounced by me, bokor, which are like sorcerers or witches. And these dead persons are revived by the bokor and become slaves to the bokor with no will of their own. But priestesses and priests of the voodoo belief system and religion do fight against the Bokor witches to try and basically save these zombie slaves from them. It seems like you have a question, and you should know I don't have the answer, but go ahead.
I don't know. I don't have a question.
Okay.
This is news to me. So I'm just like, interesting.
Great.
I'm
Thank
like
God.
fascinated to hear. No,
I have no follow-up answers to you.
Yeah, I won't ask anything. I guess I'm partially like surprised that the priests and priestesses were like taking the good side. Lol.
Yeah, I think it's because like the vibe,
or so they told us.
The vibe that I got at least was like the Bokors making the zombies a slave and like using voodoo like for super bad purposes. And so the priests and priestesses were like, whoa, we're not trying to make people slaves here. Like there's enough of that going on right now by the white people coming in hot. Let's cut it out. Additionally, there's a version in Haitian folklore and beliefs that the zombie is more like part of the human soul, physicalized, but still able to be captured by Bokor, in which case, essentially, this like sorcerer / witch can take part of a human or dead person's soul and use it to both enhance their powers, but also to like sell it off to other people who want to use it for evil deeds, until God would come in and save them and reclaim this like zombie soul, and like give it back to the person who it was stolen from. So that's more of like an astral zombie, it was described as, which is like
technical term.
Cool. Yeah. Astral zombie. Yeah. So then the connection with the slavery that was happening, and especially again, stealing human beings from West Africa and bringing them over to Haiti, and the voodoo belief system is that it was said that a deity could gather, kind of like a godlike deity who would decide what happens to you when you die, is that this deity would decide upon your death of either letting you transition into a peaceful afterlife, or if you offended this deity / like sinned in some way, you would forever become a slave in the afterlife as a zombie. So essentially saying that like slavery is as bad as being like dead forever, like you have no like life left in you.
Right. Interesting.
And there's some accounts, even I think like predating this, with Haitian indigenous people. I definitely don't know how to say it correctly, but the Taino tribe is how it just is written out. And some early accounts of shamanistic practices with these indigenous peoples. And as like a somewhat hilarious like side note in the history.com article, it addresses the question of like, are there zombies in the Bible though? To which basically history.com is like, literally half the shit in the Bible is about resurrection and reanimation. What do you think? Anyway,
that actually says that. What?
Yeah, like not in those terms, but it like cites all the things of being like, it wasn't like a zombie in the way that we think of it due
not
to,
like a
again,
brains
type
of zombie,
but
like
it's
Jesus
basically
straight
like,
up rose from the dead.
Yeah, exactly. History.com is like, what do you think? It talks so much about resurrection. Clearly, this is like a concept in various forms that has been around. But again, the like Haitian folklore and belief system is what gave way to like our modern version of zombies.
Gotcha. The brain eating, scary, devilish ones. Gotcha.
Yep. And again, I think it's in folklore, it was like less devilish beyond like the presence of like the Bokor making them evil-ish, but also it's because the white people came over and were like, a different belief system than our own. It must be evil. We're going to make it evil.
Savages.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also interesting theories about, basically actually like chemical reactions when people ingest something that puts them into like comas or misunderstandings of mental health, and notably like schizophrenia, that like could have led to people also believing like this person died and like came back to life, aka like a coma type of thing. But And I didn't really look. I've read like 2 lines of the paragraph on that one. And was like, moving on. So anyways.
Sounds like it exists to me. I believe it.
Seems legit. Yeah. Anyways, so in 1929, again, during the United States occupation/invasion of Haiti, a book was published that encountered like voodoo-inspired zombies. And in 1939, a zombie movie was released in the United States. And these 2 things really launched this kind of like white Americanized idea of zombies into like the United States pop culture and like ether, essentially. And it pretty much directly came from our presence in Haiti. And again, like I said, being like, that's some interesting belief system you had. But you're not white and not Christian.
Jazz it up a little bit.
It's gonna be evil.
Some money off of it.
Let's become billionaires on it. As is the great American way.
Yes, so, capitalism reigns supreme.
Yes. So the connection with Halloween in our modern day version of a zombie here in the United States was a pretty natural tie as zombies started to become depicted as like often apocalyptic, which just has some interesting Bible ties. They're often, like resurrection in the apocalypse is heavily connected. Yeah. And again, eventually, like you said, turned into like brain eating and like scary, spooky rising from a grave type of entity, which is very just creepy and naturally Halloween-esque. And of course, we see zombie depictions in the US all across from pop culture, from, starting from the old novel, I Am Legend, the classic 60s film, Night of the Living Dead, Michael Jackson's Thriller, and the Powerpuff Girls on an equal pop culture influence level as those last 3 things I said.
I would say so too.
Exactly. So we don't exactly know if Al was connected with a Bokor or shaman or priest, but I personally like to think instead of those things that, once he died in the Iron Maiden, that he maybe had a brief crossover with our good friend Beelzebub.
How's he doing? I miss him.
I know. He's sitting there ready to make deals with magicians.
Yeah, cool. Al, read the fine print. Read the fine print on this contract, Al.
He sure did not, because Al most likely, thought he was going to come back as a hot fang magician, but instead came back as a straight up fucking zombie who wasn't strong enough to get out of his own coffin until it was broken for him. Classic Beelzebub.
The camera pans down to hell. We see Beelzebub chilling on this comfortable lounge chair with like a whiskey tumbler, cigar, like filing his nail. She's like, hey, he said he wanted to get out of the Iron Maiden. He didn't say that he had to actually be living. He's just like filing his nails, like, I've done my work for the day.
That was easy.
Yes, continue smoking his cigar.
Such fools. For people who make money off of trickery, they're not very good at it.
I'm still the best. Oh, Beelzebub, that fraudster.
We love
who would have thought that the demon Spawn would have been a fraudster?
Who would have guessed? So part of that, I believe, contract with Beelzebub, though, is that what Al got out of it, again, minus the fine print that he clearly did not read, is that, yes, he was able to be reanimated. And this time he was able to be filled with actual magic powers instead of just, visual trickery. And so Al...
That was a good end of the deal, actually. I bet Beelzebub threw that in there, maybe. He's like, I feel kind of bad because you look terrible, dude, so I'll make you magic.
Yeah, but again, the magic wasn't strong enough to break through the Iron Maiden.
This is also true. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you can have like really total magic powers for your revenge if someone comes to break you out of it, which no one loves you, so they won't. Bye.
Bye. Back to hell.
I gotta go corrupt some politicians now. See ya.
See ya.
Anyways, so as Al finally is released from this coffin, he steps out into Townsville declaring, "You laughed at me, but now revenge." So Al immediately goes to town, literally, with what looks like lightning shooting out of his hands. He starts attacking people of Townsville. But not just by like turning them into his own stage tricks, but by turning them into like the literal real life version of the tricks. So, for example, people erupt into screams as they are dunked underwater into a tank, a la the predicament tricks, but they can't get out. They're suddenly in boxes that are actively being sawn through by like unseen figures and more. So like, instead of being like, haha, it's an assistant split in two, like people are being sawed in half IRL. So our dear mayor immediately calls the Powerpuff Girls and begs them to come to town before it's too late. And he actually this time has to beg them because the second he says it's a zombie, the girls are like, we were just watching scary zombie movies and like, they're actually really scared. We don't really want to do this. Okay.
Yeah, you guys are superheroes. Come on.
Yeah, they were just like, hello. Okay, like slowly poke their heads out of the house, being like, oh God, zombie infestation. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Still, they do cautiously fly to town. And it's like, actually, when they see Al, they're like, oh God, it is a real zombie. Oh no.
Oh no.
But as again, the kind of the leader of the Powerpuff Girls, Blossom, musters up all of the bravery her little body can find. She approaches Al and tries the thing that they didn't really see happen in any of the zombie movies. She kind of tugs his little tuxedo tails and politely asks him if he could stop being an evil zombie.
Oh, that's nice.
It absolutely does not work. Al turns and not only is laughing at that stupid request, but and starts screaming about revenge. But when he turns to see Blossom, a small girl with a round face and huge eyes, suddenly the flashback of the little girl with the teddy bear, who not only ruined his career, but in his mind was instrumental to his very painful, fucked up death.
Yes.
It all clicks. This is his enemy. This is the one he needs to exact true revenge on.
Oh no.
And here, funny enough, is when he launches into something that we also very recently discussed. In a Crime Caper episode. Hypnosis.
Yes.
Yes. So he gets out a pocket watch and immediately entraps Blossom. His eyes, start doing the spinny hypnosis thing. Because it works in this case because he is a super powerful magician now. And unable to fight back, he like wraps her up like a mummy with like the magician's handkerchiefs. That type of thing. He only uses sage magician things as his weapons.
Those are, that's his tools of choice.
Yes. And as
go with what you
know. Yep, exactly. And as usual in the theme of Powerpuff Girls, that I think is the underlying thing, Buttercup chooses the one and main tool to solve crimes: violence. So she immediately starts like launching punches at him. But unfortunately, this is a grown-ass adult who's had like decades to plot his revenge, and is yet again triggered by the fact that Buttercup is another small girl with round face and huge eyes, just like the teddy bear girl who he thinks murdered her and bested him.
Yeah.
So he zaps Buttercup with the sawed in half spell, and she cannot escape as she slowly starts to get sawed in half. And then Bubbles goes in next to save her sisters. Yet again, small little girl, round face, big eyes. Before she can even get to him, he zaps her and she is stuck in a canvas bag that drops into a tank of water with the lid shut on it. Yeah. He's trying to murder them.
Yeah. The only one so far who's not actively in the process of being murdered is Blossom. But
you say that.
Uh-oh.
But he turns back to Blossom and a la like a yo-yo, like whips her and like unfurls her like the handkerchief mummy into the Iron Maiden.
Oh, well, there it goes.
Which slams on Blossom. Before we get to the next part, Alexis, quick poll. What's the worst way to die here? Because he's straight up trying to murder them. Sawn in half like Buttercup, drowning like Bubbles, or Iron Maiden like Blossom. What's your least to worst ranking of these three things?
Oh gosh. It's either it's either Buttercup or Bubbles. I can't decide which one. Probably Buttercup, because those are slow and painful. Like especially Buttercups, but even drowning, like you at a certain, like you're gonna freak out at a certain point, like, oh my God, I gotta breathe. And then you're gonna like kill yourself by trying to breathe underwater.
Yeah.
One of those. Blossom, unfortunately, has it easy here. The Iron Maiden is actually like a quick hit, like boom, done. You're probably dead in like 2 seconds. Yeah, maybe.
And I guess I don't know, like in real life, Iron Maiden, if it was like a slow close, but at least in Powerpuff Girl depiction, it's real fast. Yeah. So we'll go with the Powerpuff Girl depiction of it. And I agree that it's like a one and done situation, most likely. Versus the other ones.
But I can't decide between the other two, which one is worse, because fortunately, I've never been sawed in half, nor been stuffed in a canvas bag and thrown into a pool with a lid on top of it.
I would say my vote is probably for Buttercups, because like you see it happening, and like maybe if you're drowning, you can like gasp enough to like make yourself pass out quickly, and then just like float back up, and and just like you're not like conscious while it's happening, versus Buttercup, you're just slowly sawn in half. Cutting nerves and bleeding out. Anyway, happy Halloween, everyone. Happy Halloween.
This graphic hey, we're getting this from Powerpuff Girls, okay? So blame Cartoon Network. Anyway.
So anyways, just as the remaining townspeople start shrieking because they just witnessed the possible murder of 3 little girls, strangely, Al essentially like explodes to reveal Blossom ripping off a costume of Al the zombie.
What?
And she zips to the water tank to reveal that the bag is empty, and then zips to the table saw and opens the box to reveal Buttercup in one half and Bubbles in the other half. Now, before you get too excited to think that this was an elaborate Halloween prank, which is a preview of our next episode, everyone, get excited. The shrieks of the crowd continue, because while, let's pause for a second. Because while Scooby-Doo and the gang always choose vigilante justice, Rescue Rangers chooses traditional detective work. Darkwing Duck chooses untraditional detective work. Courage the Cowardly Dog chooses mysticism and like the power of love. Powerpuff Girls always choose violence.
Yes.
Because we see
about that action.
The actual Al zombie's arm flop out of the Iron Maiden, which the Powerpuff Girls have re-trapped and re-murdered him in. Without hesitation.
Okay. Wow. How'd they do that?
For explanation of how they pulled the stunt off, Blossom just laughs at the peasants of Townsville and goes, magic! And then they all pose as there's a dead body behind them. And that's the end. And that's it. They just like murdered him painfully in an Iron Maiden. I don't know how they weren't murdered. Again, magic is Blossom's explanation. And then they do their little pose followed by like all the little hearts, and then the music starts and it's over. Dun, 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 dun. Magic. So as these 3 kindergartners re-murdered a grown-ass adult, and the whole town has to put up with this dead body flopping out. So
2 questions. Well, one, I guess one's a comment, another's a question.
Uh-huh.
You can't murder a dead person. So
hot take.
Hot take. Boom. There you go.
Damn. Okay.
Bringing back memories.
Are you a lawyer defending the Powerpuff Girls in court right now? Good job.
And also, so where did this Iron Maiden land? Was it just like in the streets of Townsville?
Or like yeah, it just like flopped over. Like like when he like died in it again or didn't die in it again. Thanks, lawyer defense attorney Alexis.
Gotcha.
For the Powerpuff Girls. Yeah, it's I'm trying to think of like a good rhyme a la if it doesn't fit, then acquit, but I can't think of one fast enough to be like, if he's already dead, he's just in bed. Like he didn't actually die again. He's already dead. They're innocent.
He's already dead, then the Powerpuff Girls will not dread. I don't know. Anyway,
OJ had a whole team of lawyers working on that rhyme. Okay, we're just two people.
Can't come up with it as quick as Johnny Cochran did. Wow, I have so many thoughts and feelings about that episode.
Yep.
So did it come out on Halloween or like around Halloween, like late October or something?
No, but the Wikipedia list of like cartoon episodes that were Halloween-esque because it had to do with zombies. Decided it was Halloween.
That makes sense. I approve and agree.
And the Powerpuff Girls were watching zombie scary movies in advance, and it all felt spooky. So I decided to talk about zombies and make it Halloween as an executive decision.
And I am just a peon here. you make all the major decisions. I love it. No, it's great because it's giving us a great opportunity to cover all the major bases with the classic Halloween tropes, like how we did Satan and the devil, we did witches, now we've done good old the zombies. Yeah. And we've got something even more fun. Obviously the Headless Horseman as well. That's another classic one. Yes. And like jack-o'-lanterns and all of that. But next week we do also have another classic. But God, no, I was gonna ask something else though before we transition to the end.
Iron Maiden, murder, zombies.
So like did the mayor I'm just trying to when they were tearing down the building, so the mayor, like they all saw the Iron Maiden come out, or the Iron Maiden was still like in the rubble in the building?
It was definitely so. Okay, so what I think happened is it's still in the rubble. Like no one was inside the building when it got demolished. And then that's when he popped out, and Al immediately got to work murdering things.
Immediately got to work.
Yeah, he did not wait a second. Murdering. He has been waiting for that day. But the Iron Maiden that we thought smushed Blossom and eventually smushed Al, I think was a different one because he was like popping left and right murder devices. I think he popped that one.
That's like what I was trying to get to. I was like, did they like bring the Iron Maiden over? Were they still at the theater? How? Okay, got you. So he was just like using all sorts of zombie magic.
I think because Blossom was like the first one who reminded him of the little girl that he thinks murdered him. He was like, I'm going to exact my revenge with how I had to die. But then again, somehow in an unexplained manner, he just got murdered again in it.
He's the one who ended up in there.
Yeah, and then like flash like Beelzebub being like, you again?
I gave you the greatest gift by getting you out of the Iron Maiden.
You're welcome.
Making you magic.
Yeah.
And you still are right back
contracts. Here. I don't renew a lease.
Al just like drops his head down like, oh.
Yeah. Now you're just stuck in hell forever with all the other stage magicians.
And all the carnies down there.
Yeah. Also throughout this whole episode, I don't know if you've ever watched Arrested Development. It's an incredible show.
But I always think of
illusion, mother. Because what's his face? Job is also a stage magician. So, anyways, between now and next week.
Great job, though. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Between now and next week, when we've got a very fun episode that we hinted towards, who should our listeners and viewers tell about this? About the pod and thought.
I think we should all find an illusionist out there someone who does these great like Las Vegas shows with like what's the duo with the white tiger?
Oh my God.
Didn't one of them just pass away too? Gosh, I can't believe.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, drop it in the comments OGs. If you know. Yeah, the OGs. Yes. Find someone like that and tag them either on Twitter or Instagram, or write them a letter, or just knock on their front door one day, stalk them.
Watch out for the tigers.
Yeah, careful. Or tell the tiger too, and then run quickly. Yeah, I would love it if a white tiger watched or listened.
Again, another lost demo of ours.
The white tigers, man. Watch that be like some like gang or like Yakuza faction.
Yeah, that we're now
like it would be
another FBI watch list.
Yeah,
because we're talking about it.
FBI is just watching right now, shaking their heads like, Jesus, we just keep having to stalk these kids. They don't know what they're talking about.
God damn it.
Oh man.
Great. Well, after you tell an illusionist, I think you should go tell a voodoo practitioner, but like the priest or priestess, not the bokor, like the good side of it. And also being like, look, they're on your side. Mm-hmm. Please don't give them any bad voodoo juju or anything like that. They're into it. They support you.
Yes.
Go listen to this pod while you're doing your cool voodoo stuff.
Yeah. And we took their side today, I think, generally speaking. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see y'all next week for a very fun last special Halloween episode.
Yes, to end the month of October with a very, very special, fun treat that we're very excited about. So until then,
bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.